All right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning also to those listening to the recording. So we just started chatting a bit about the forgiveness letters and what has been coming up for people. And one of the interesting thing is that sometimes we forgive, or we have the intention to forgive, but the question is what happens afterwards, right? Because we have in business relationships, oftentimes it is very easy because, like, for example, I was just asked the question, well, would you work again with that lawyer? And my answer is very simply yes. And very honestly, very honestly, I even thought about like writing in some forums and warning people of this person, because it's really, I mean, at the end of the day, she's an alcoholic and she's doing things that are just not responsible, you know? So I really was thinking about, okay, is there a way to warn people about her without, but then you have to be very careful, because if you speak about people, you know, in such a way about their business, and you destroy their business on purpose, they can sue you. And for sure, I mean, especially if you go after lawyers, it's a particularly dangerous topic because they will be even more prone to suing you. So, so I thought about, is there a different way to do that, is to just genuinely warn people about this person. I ended up not doing it because I then found out in this process of figuring this out, I found out that there are already other people doing this, so I don't need to do anything. And I just believe in karma and karma to take care of it. But for sure, if people ask me for a divorce lawyer, I would immediately say, do not ever touch this one. So this is something that I definitely would do. And apart from that, I'm just happy that she's out of our lives, honestly. Like, I forgive her, but I'm just really relieved that we no longer have to deal with her. Everything is done. The invoices are paid, like everything is just over. And the package, you know, it's like, it's finished. Like, now that the forgiveness letter is done, the package is finished. I can put it on the shelf in the corner and leave it there forever. And if it's, you know, if it's burnt, even better, then I don't even have to do that. So that is one part. In business relationships, it's very simple. And in private relationships, it's a bit different, right? And everybody has their own, let's say, stake at this, like their own, you know, way of doing it. At the end of the day, what I do is it's really a gut feeling thing for me. I thought about it now as well, where I told you I'm currently in exactly the same situation, that I have a friend that really is doing some things where I'm like, okay, this is not okay. And I told you about the situation that I still have a baby horse in Austria, and I helped that the lady who owns the mom of this horse, I helped her out of a situation where she was in is it called foreclosure? So when the court comes and takes your horse. So she had debt, and the court almost came to take her horse. So it was on the day that she called me and she said, look, I'm in this situation. I want to offer you to rent my mare and get a baby out of it. But you need to decide today, and you need to pay that for me today. And I said, okay, give me 2 hours to think about it. And I said, okay, you know, and then I called her back after 3 hours and I said, okay, I will do it. And I arranged everything so that the court received the payment on that day and that everything was done. And I said to her, I don't feel very comfortable doing this without a contract, but we had a contract previously because we already had exactly the same agreement. And I said, we already had a contract previously, and until now, like whatever came up, we always found a solution. So I trust this is going to be the case again. And she said, yeah, we will always find a solution. And what happened now is that the horses, in order to travel, they need passports. And she didn't. So I sent all the documentation for that to her, and she didn't take care of it in time. And then she got corona. And the thing was, what we agreed is that this baby is allowed to stay with the mom until she's 5 months old for free. And afterwards, I have to pay for that. That's the normal procedure. But it is in her hands to take care of the paperwork. Now the paperwork has been with her since end November, so third week of November. She started charging me since the 7th of December, because that's the time when the baby turned 5 months old. And we didn't talk about it. It was not like she said, okay, I'm going to charge you this. Is that okay for you? She just said, this is the amount you have to pay. And I was like, yeah, but that's quite a lot of money. I mean, this is not what we agreed upon, and it's not normal for a baby horse. And so this was something where then she broke off the communication, and then she got Corona. And so there were several things there that were a bit complex. And I tried to keep a way of communicating with her that was very much leadership, according to the way I learned and according to a certain process that I've been practicing and following. And she kept just charging more, having like more extravagant ideas and charging more money and these things. And I was like, this is not okay. This is not working for me. And what annoys me about the situation, because I thought about it, what is annoying you so much about the situation? What annoys me is that she is not willing to talk about it. Because I said, okay, like, let's stop typing on WhatsApp. Let's have a conversation. And she's like, no, everything has been said, so I don't want to talk. And I was like, okay, this is strange. So the thing is that when we are in situations like this, then you need to think about what is the outcome you want to have. So that is the first thing you need to know, like, what is the outcome you want to have? And I decided, I was really thinking about, okay, is this going to be the end of our relationship? Because I don't want to be in a business or friend relationship with somebody who takes advantage of a situation and goes against our agreement and forgets that actually I was the one that helped her out of a crappy situation. I got something amazing out of it, and it was worth the investment, and I'm very happy about it, and it's amazing. But you cannot go ahead and abuse the situation like that. And she has a very interesting way. I think this is my interpretation of the situation. She has a very interesting way to interpret situations, because it's like, yeah, but you have the money, so you need to pay for it, right? It's like this feeling of justice of, you know, you just sold another horse, so you need to invest this money into me. That's the way I heard her say this already several times about other situations. So my feeling is this is what she's thinking. So in terms of the outcome, I really thought about, okay, do I still want to be friends with her? And to be honest, I came to the conclusion that she has such a different mindset and such a different energy. And on the day when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about this the last couple of days, but when I was thinking about it the most, this quote came up that I shared with you guys, right? Like, sometimes you need to let the universe take care of things and take care of people and take them out of your way in order for you to grow. And this is a feeling that I had where I was like, she is, I'm now moving on to the level of being surrounded by breeders that are very powerful, that are international, and that are things. She has a lot of knowledge. She helped me out a lot in my starting phase of breeding. Like, I could go to her and ask all kinds of questions that I had in terms of pedigree. But I surpassed her now. So like, I built a brand, I have all these connections, and she doesn't. So actually it's a bigger loss for her if she loses me than it is for me. But I think she doesn't see it that way, because she doesn't think long term, because she's so much in need of the money that she's focusing probably too much on the money part. So she's like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to get a couple of €100, but she's missing out on, if she loses my friendship and my support, then I can't support her on, selling her horses, and she's losing out on a couple of thousand, right? So, and this is something where I'm like, she generally is a quite negative energy person. She generally is somebody, she always calls me like for troubles. She doesn't speak very well English, so I had to help her out with a lot of things. So that is where really for me, it was like, okay, I'm not gonna exclude her in terms of, I'm not gonna say, oh, I don't like her now and I'm gonna end this friendship. And I'm gonna end this very peacefully, but I am gonna retreat from having contact with her. And I'm very much gonna think about Like, what am I going to do the next time she asks me for something? Am I going to say yes or going to say no? I think I'm going to say no. I think I'm going to say, I'm sorry, but after all that happened, I'm not really willing to do this. So even though I forgive her, and even though I want to leave out of the situation in a positive way, that there are no more negative emotions left, at least for me, because if we don't have the opportunity to talk, there will most likely still be negative emotions for her. But I want to leave it in a way where it's at least neutral, everything. And, you know, have an outcome that is positive for everybody, but where I still decide for myself, okay, I'm just not going to invest in this relationship anymore in the future. And it can be that at some point we will do something again, but for now, I'm just going to leave it, and I'm really going to not keep it. Because if people react in this way, that they're also not open to communicating, they're in a very negative energy space, they're very needy, then this is not really somebody I want to spend a lot of time with. And then it's better that the universe made a cut for us there and, you know, sent us off. Then it's maybe better, right? And for me, again, as I said, the way I deal with the situation is, so what is the outcome I want to have? The outcome is I want it very neutral, but I also want to distance myself from the situation. The second thing is that I extract my lessons, right? So I really extract my lessons out of this. Like, I should have set the boundaries. We should have talked, at least, even if we don't have a contract, we should have talked about the details on that day where I helped her out of where I paid that thing. And that was, interestingly enough, on that day I paid that sum. That was what my intuition told me. Like, don't make a contract, but at least put it in writing. And I didn't. So I didn't listen to my gut feeling, because I was like, yeah, we're friends and it's going to be fine. That was not a good idea. So that is always the lesson that comes back to me like a boomerang. Listen to your gut feeling. Your gut has a very good way of telling you things, and your intuition. And every time, like, one of the biggest learnings last year for me was what I really noticed. Every time I have that intuition that says something to me and I say, nah, it's going to be fine. Every time then something happens that is a bigger thing, right? So, like, for example, what I broke the rollo thing here. So we have an automatic rollo thing. It doesn't have a stopper. And my intuition told me, don't go away and do something else. You'll forget about it. And I didn't. So that's how I broke that. So these are the kind of things where when we listen to our intuition, and that is, by the way, the topic of today is listening to our intuition. And I'll get to that in a second. So outcome. The second part is, what did I say? Damn it. How am I going to deal with this? What did I say? Who paid attention? The second part I said, or who took notes? Yes, Charlotte?
Well, you talked about, it's always about extracting the lessons.
Exactly.
You
Thank
about,
you. Extracting the lessons. Exactly. Thank you very much.
I take notes, you see.
Yeah, very good. So second part, extracting the lesson, right? Super important to extract the lesson out of it in order, because then it has a reason, and we can deal with it better, and we can forgive easier. If there's a lesson, if there's something to learn for us, it's easier to forgive it. And then the last part is to forgive it. But you can only always forgive when you're out of the situation. So when the situation is finalized. So right now, for example, I can start the process of forgiving her and being like, okay, it's going to be fine. But right now, I'm just in the process of saying to myself and to the situation, we're going to be okay. Everything is going to be fine. This is going to end up as the highest intention for everybody, and it's going to end well for everybody. This is right now my intention, right? So it's going to work out. And when I get annoyed, then I think to myself, it's only money. It's okay. It's only money. It's not a big deal, right? So it's going to be fine. But there are, of course, things then when people come from the outside, like my partner, for example, when he heard of the situation, he was like, yeah, but I feel like people are, abusing you, and they're taking advantage of the situation, and you're way too kind, and you always forgive them, and you never, like, you need to fight back, like you need to, is there anything you still have in your hand that you can use against her? And I said, yeah, I do. But at the end of the day, I don't need to think in this way, because I know she's going to realize in hindsight that it isn't a good thing to not be on good terms with me, because it means I'm just not going to help her out with things. And that in itself is already a big loss for her. That in itself is already enough. I don't have to go and say, oh yeah, I'm going to now overcharge you for things that you still want and you still need, you know, like there's no point in that. So that is the way I see it, that cutting, like her decision of cutting me out of her life is actually going to harm her more than it harms me. So that's why this is something, and I think she's not aware of that at all. So these are the things where really, when you extract the lesson, you can start doing that whilst the process is ongoing, but you can do it even better when the process is finished. And the forgiveness you can only do once the situation is finalized. If you are in the situation, it is very hard. Like when you're still, and it's you, because it hasn't ended yet. And when something hasn't ended yet, what are you going to forgive? You don't know what the end is going to look like, right? But you can still say to yourself, okay, I forgive them for doing this. I forgive them for acting in this way. I forgive them for saying these things. That in the meantime, you can still do, but I wouldn't burn the letter yet, if that makes sense, right? So that's the first thing. Are there any questions about that before I quickly jump on the topic of intuition?
So can you repeat that again? I mean, I didn't really understand. If it's an ongoing situation, you can, yeah, say something, because I have a few
If it's
of
an
those as well.
ongoing situation, you can forgive, right? So you can start the forgiveness process, but you cannot finish the forgiveness process. So if it's not finalized, it's the situation, right? Not the person in your life, but the situation that you're annoyed about. You cannot complete it because it's not done yet. So it's hard to forgive something that's not completed. That makes sense. So you can start forgiving situations within the situation. Like I can say, okay, I forgive her for example, I can say, okay, I forgive her for messing up that she still hasn't done the passport for the horse. I can forgive her for that, even though it has not been completed. But I cannot forgive her for the entire thing yet because it's not finished. The horse is not here yet. It's not finished. So there are certain things that I cannot forgive yet because it's not completed. Make sense?
Yeah, but why would you, if she has messed up like that, why would you forgive her for not fixing the passport, which she should have done a long time ago? I mean, is it just a way to change the energy around this whole thing?
It's the way to change the energy, and also there's no point of holding a grudge against it. Like it takes me more energy than is necessary, you know? If I don't forgive her for this, I'm going to run around with all this negative energy for a long time. That's not worth it. That's the main point of forgiveness, is at the end of the day, if we don't forgive people, it's you're the one that suffers the most, not them. You're the one that suffers the most. So there are certain things that you can forgive already in the meantime. It's still annoying, but yeah, that's the way I see it.
How do you deal with when people have lots of problems with parents or childhood things and stuff? You advise them to, you know, like you have a big problem with your mom, for example, just because that's, well, a lot of people have that.
Yeah. First of all, it depends really on what the situation is, because I don't do life coaching per se. So there are certain things where I coach people, but when it goes into trauma and really like situations, then I send them to people who are really specialized on that, because that's not something that I do, right? So I always differentiate between what is the situation we're dealing with. If there's like physical or sexual abuse, for example, I always send them to other people. I still recommend them to do a forgiveness letter if they can, but it's hard. And typically this is something that it's not done with a forgiveness letter. So it takes a bigger process. There are more emotions that are involved with it. Like, for example, Bea is very much specialized in this, like dealing with entrapped emotions and letting and releasing entrapped emotions and limiting beliefs and these things, like finding where they are in your body and in your system and releasing them and letting them go, right? Because you cannot, these things are so deep and so long and so big that it doesn't do it with just a forgiveness letter. But it's a starting point. If you can start to forgive that, it's a starting point, but it just takes a long time. It's not something where it's like, okay, one forgiveness letter, done, it takes more time. But it is, yeah.
I always try to find the Geschenk,
The gift.
The gift in it. So what is the gift or the higher purpose of this argument or something? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, that's another way of seeing the lesson, right? Like instead of saying the lesson, like what is the gift here? What is the good thing that comes out of this? What is the higher purpose of this, right? Like for me, really the situation I'm in with this friend, it feels like, okay, I'm letting go of old people and I'm moving on to people that are more in my energy level, if that makes sense, right? So it's the universe is moving people out of my way without me doing anything, right? That's the higher gift and the higher purpose. And then thank you for sharing that, Bea. That's a really, really valuable input. But how do you deal with that when it's bigger things?
How? For example, I had a client who is a regisseur, for a big movie, and he handed in this script to this movie. Förderungen. What is Förderungen? Sorry, today it's too early for me. The
funding.
The funding.
Government funding.
Yeah, it was a private funding, and he got declined, and he was very depressed because he was working on it for half a year, and all the finances were relying on this. And then we worked on it, why this could have been a gift. And he also forgave also the people because he was so angry at this jury that they didn't give him. And we worked so much on where is the gift and about forgiveness. So he changed the script again, and we tested it that he should hand it in again. And the second time he handed in, and he changed a few characters in the script because it was not really authentic. It was not him really. He was influenced by some other opinions. And then luckily he got it. He got, I think, I don't know, around 100,000 euros for this script. So in the beginning, the first time he was declined, but when he made his homework about where to see this gift and where to, and also to forgive himself, that he let other people interrupt him, then the miracle happened. So that was very nice.
Beautiful. That's really good. Yeah, right. And that's a really good way of seeing it more positive. I like that concept of the gift versus the lesson. It's even more powerful. Like, where's the positive thing in this, right? Like, what is really the good thing in this? And when we start to shift that, then it really opens up into, like I said, for example, remember I told you the story about the guy who bought 3 horses from me, and then I realized that the lesson was, hey, I wasn't excited about the people I was selling my horses to. And then when I changed that, all of a sudden I sold 2 horses that were in the same contract to amazing people, right? So this is where, when we realize the lesson, we extract the lessons, we realize what is the good thing that comes out of this, and we shift. That's when then we turn something negative into something positive, and that's where the real power is. This is the.
No, I think that is a very good point. I was just writing that down. You need to be excited about your clients. If you feel, oh my God, here's another one having that problem. But if you are excited about your clients, you'll attract more business.
Exactly. And this is one of the things I've been talking about. Like Berenice knows this, who has been in my sales class. This is one of the things where, it is so important to be excited about your clients, because if you're excited about the ones you have and you're excited about the ones that are going to come into the future, and you have a couple of, you're like, oh my God, I love these clients. And every time I jump on a call, I'm excited for their success. And every update is amazing. Like everything around them is amazing. Then you attract more of those clients. It's super simple. It is super, super, super simple. And that's why I said, because I had this concept already, and I was teaching this concept about being excited about your clients in the business world, but I hadn't applied it to the horses because it didn't, like, somehow, it didn't cross my mind. And that's the thing, like, we can be excited about having friends, we can be excited about, like, whatever you're high energy about is what you attract more of into your life. If you're excited about your friends, or let's say you want to have more connections, more friends, if you're excited about the ones you have, like if you're excited about a couple of, like, wow, imagine I could have 10 of somebody, right? Like if I would say, imagine I could have 10 Beas in my life, that would be amazing. So then I replicate other Beas into my life, right? Because I'm excited every time I see her, every time we go for a drink, every time, whatever, I'm excited. And that means that I attract more of the same people into my life. So that's how it works, this excitement energy. Okay. All right. So when it comes to, Bernie says, I love this concept of finding the gift and seeing the bigger purpose. Sometimes we just get hooked in the ego mind and fall by default into the victim role. Exactly. It's like, why is this happening to me? It's so unfair. That stupid idiot, or that stupid bitch, or I don't know what. And we fall into this like anger and thing. And I've actually, I've completely switched that in my life, that whenever something happens, I immediately start looking for the lesson, even if it hasn't been completed yet. I'm already like, aha, this is interesting. What's happening here? What's the lesson? Have I not set my boundaries? Have I not been a strong enough leader? Should I have been more clear in my communication? Should I have done this? So it's like, even when the problem just starts like showing up, I'm already like, okay, where's the lesson? Like, what am I here to learn about? So this is a way of that you don't ever fall into the victim mode. Like, I never think of, oh, why is this happening to me? And it's unfair and it's mean and it's so mean of her to do this to me. Like, doesn't happen, never happens. I still get annoyed at her. I was like, I'm still annoyed like about the situation. I'm like, oh, this is not good. This is not a good situation to be in. And it's not nice of her to do these things. And why can't we talk and these things, right? But I don't fall into victim mode of why is this happening and it's unfair and da, da, da. Because that's the mode she's in, right? So then I meet her on that level. And that's when this real disasters happen. But there's another interesting concept, and that is, do we need to leave people? So I always had this idea, and I had one, I forgot who it was, but I spoke about this to one of my coaches. I had picked up this concept. I thought, that's very interesting. And that is, do we need to actually leave people in order to learn the lesson, in order to move on, right? Because there's a part of, yes, does the relationship end, like you said, Bea, right? Does the relationship end then? But sometimes we're a bit too quick to say, okay, they did this, they're out of my life, like, I'm done. And what usually happens is, if we don't make that cut and say, okay, I hate you for the rest of my life, I'm never going to talk to you again, like we really cut people out, it's very damaging to us as well. It's very like, it's leaving people out of the wrong energy. It's if you just let it fade out and just say, okay, we're going our own ways, but I still appreciate you, you still appreciate me, there's no negative grudge. That's the best situation. That is the best situation you have. And then things just fade out and you just don't have so much contact with each other. Because if you do this like cut and I'm never going to talk to you again, it drains you. It drains you, and it's also negative for other relationships that you have. Okay. All right. I'm quickly going to speak about, is it clear for everybody?
Yeah.
Good. I'm quickly going to speak about the concept of intuition, and then I'll speak more about intuition tomorrow. Okay. But this was a really good and a really important conversation to have. So intuition and gut feeling is one of the most important gifts that we have. Unfortunately, sometimes we decide to turn it off, right? Like we decide to turn it off and we don't listen to it anymore. And we have this feeling of, no, it's going to be all right. Or no, this is not going to happen to me. Or, it's in these situations where we don't listen to our intuition and our gut feeling that we go the wrong way. I did it several times in my life where my gut feeling was telling me, do this. And my rational thinking said, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, for example, I was, and I tested it as well with my horses. So for example, I was given the opportunity, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I was given the opportunity to become a speaker and a coach for a very big American organization. And I started touring with them and doing certain things with them. And then I had to make the decision to say, okay, am I really gonna like go all in, or am I gonna focus more on the horse coaching business? And I even tested it with the horses. I did an interesting video. So those of you that have seen the video where I test with the trees, to say this is option A and this is option B, that is that video. That is the video where I take that decision. And the interesting thing was my gut feeling told me already, don't go with this American company. And my rational thinking, the horses told me, don't do this option. Like everything in the intuition and the energetic world was telling me, don't do this. But my rational mind said, yeah, but I can still do this. Like I can do the best of both worlds. So I can I become a speaker and work as a coach for this company. And at the same time, I can build the horse coaching business. So I can do both at the same time. What happened is that I got very much soaked up into their world of doing things. And they asked a lot of things from me. And so it took a lot of time. It took a lot of energy. When I went for a speaking tour with them, I was paid for that. But for the other things, like, for example, we came up with a new concept for one of their business lines. They set up a completely new business line. And I was working on this concept with them. And I later then found out, well, they took that concept and implemented it without letting me know. This was my intellectual property, actually. And so it felt a bit off and a bit weird, but okay. But in the end, they told me, yeah, they're going to do this business category completely differently than they thought and these things. So after investing about half a year of my time and not investing so much time in my business, the relationship not ended, but it was like they said, okay, we're going to do this in a different way. It's taking longer time than we expected. So we're going to come back to you and we'll see, and so on and so forth. They put the project on hold for quite some time. So that was the interesting thing, is that it was such a big lesson in terms of my intuition already told me, but the whole thing looked so attractive and it looked such a safe option that I was like, okay, this makes complete sense. I'm going to do this and I'm going to build the horse coaching next to it. But I didn't have enough time to focus on building the horse coaching business next to it. So it was super, super, super interesting in terms of that was the first time really that I made a big decision, and my intention was to make it on gut feeling, but I did not follow the gut feeling intention at all. So I still went the rational thinking way, and it was a big, 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 big lesson that I had to learn. And the lessons out of it were so powerful, and I learned so much. And today I'm so grateful that it went this way. So I'm so happy that this is the way it turned out, that it didn't go through, because I would have spent so much more time on doing it with them that I would have ended up not focusing on the horse coaching at all. And I wouldn't have been where I am now. And funnily enough, 2 years later, I had a similar experience with a client that asked me to support her in building her business. And I got more and more involved. And at some point the relationship ended. And that one was really a little bit of a traumatic end, because she cut off the communication from one day to another. She was like, you did one mistake. I'm cutting off the communication. We're no longer working together. And I was like, okay, this is really weird. But it was a similar situation. So again, I learned the lesson in the same way, because I hadn't learned it enough the first time. So it showed up again, it showed up stronger. And this time it was different lessons that I had to take. So this is where our intuition is so powerful. And if we don't listen to the intuition, what happens is that the universe takes care of it for us. And at the beginning, it's very hard to see when these things happen, like what is the purpose? Like Bea said before, what is the gift that is behind this? And then we change things in our life and all of a sudden we see, hey, it's actually so much better option. It is so good that this didn't happen. It is so good that my 3 horses, for example, were not sold to Israel, to this gentleman. And that was such a good thing. Right? So this is where, when we don't listen to our intuition and our gut feeling, that's when the lessons keep coming back, and that's when the universe makes decisions for us. And just like, so it's okay. This is, you didn't follow your intuition, so we're gonna do it for you. We sent you the signs, we showed you everything, you still went the other way, so we're gonna make this decision for you. Right? Okay, questions in this regard? No, seems everybody's happy. Makes sense for everyone. Okie dokie. It says Bernice is still connecting to audio. I know you're here twice. Okay, good. All right, ladies, there's no homework today. I want you to continue focusing on your forgiveness letters. Maybe through the conversation today, you came up with some more ideas of where you need to forgive, and where some other people that you need to include in your forgiveness to yourself, or forgiving them. Thank you for the conversation, and I wish you guys a beautiful, 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 beautiful day, and I will see you back here tomorrow at 9. Bye bye.
Great.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Welcome.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.